everything's staged. People's brains going like haywire. I feel like anxious like thinking about it. Rumors flew. Hey guys, today we'll be talking about episode 1 of Beast Games.
Yay.
I'm 781. My name's Ivy.
Oh yeah, I'm 559, Ava. Alright, well this is where things, I guess, started to get pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's around like 2 weeks after Vegas, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. We get all of our flight info. Most of us flew into Buffalo, and then we took a bus into Toronto. So we're going to talk about that little experience real quick. I don't have that many details from like the Buffalo part. I didn't know anyone in the hotel that I was put in, so my bus to Toronto was at like 7:45 in the morning. I was bused 2, and literally no details from that. So how about you take us from there?
So I got to Toronto, or I flew into Buffalo, and right when I got there, I met our friend Emma, and she's so awesome. And then I got to the hotel, and I ended up meeting our other friend JC there, and shout out JC, and a ton of other really cool people. And so we all met there, and we all took the same bus into Toronto and like crossing the border and everything. And then we got taken to this hotel in Toronto, and I ended up meeting like a ton of people there, and we literally just played werewolf like all day, every day for like 3 days or something. And so that randomly like bonded like a big group of us together. Yeah, we also had to fill out a ton of paperwork beforehand, and it was like this whole thing we had to do.
But once we got, I forget what hotel I was in Toronto, but I met up with my friend Ike, who I met in Vegas, and he was in like the Primetime Alliance I've mentioned before, and we were the only 2 of our alliance in the hotel. So then we just like made friends with a bunch of other people. This is also where I met Athena, which she'll come into play a little bit later, but we became really close.
Why did that turn off?
Yeah, and like in each hotel we'd have like a gathering area where we would eat all of our meals, and also they had a bunch of games for us to play, so that's where everyone just like got to know each other.
Oh yeah.
So let's just flash forward to like when we all met up at the hotel, when everyone was in the same hotel. So everyone was shuttled to the same hotel, and we were put in this giant like conference room, and we had to wait for everyone to get there. So I was there for quite a while. I feel like I waited like an hour.
Oh, is this right before we went into the studio for like episode 1?
Yeah.
Okay, because we'd done like costume fittings.
Oh right, I forgot.
Like the day before, like different groups got taken to this one hotel. And they fit us, and they took pictures of us in our costumes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They're just fitting, taking hideous photos.
We're cooked in those pictures.
Mine are so bad.
Mine are really bad.
Oh.
But yeah, no. So then that day happened.
Yeah.
And so when we got brought to the hotel, it was kind of crazy because we were on the bus on the way over there, and I said to someone, I was like, you know what? I think that Colin and Samir are gonna show up at some point during the show, and people like either didn't know who they were, or they're like, oh, you think? Like, I don't know if they will. And I was like, no, I just feel it like in my bones that they're gonna show up. And literally the bus stops. I get off the bus, and right when I step like onto like where you can see inside the hotel, Colin and Samir are just standing there, and I was like, what? And so I just like beeline to them, and I said, guys, I knew you were gonna be here. And they're like, what? Like, how'd you know? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, but I just had to say that. I just had to let you know that I knew. I just knew in my bones you were gonna be here. And they were really cool.
Oh, and then also that just reminded me, before like we all gathered, Jimmy and like some of the crew visited some of our hotels. And
keyword some.
Yes, some. Not
mine. Not. They literally kept faking us out that they're gonna show up, and then they didn't.
Yeah, I think it was just like a scheduling thing, like trying to stay on schedule. But they came from my hotel like the day before we all gathered and like started episode 1, and it was like literally a 15-minute conversation. Just we were allowed to ask any questions that we really wanted. When I was in there, I was honestly, I couldn't think of a question, or at least like a good enough question to ask, so I was just listening to whatever other people said, because I like didn't want to be like asking an awkward question and then be like,
Like, why did
I don't know.
why'd she say that? Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that was like before the fitting. Once we all gathered in like that main room, that's when I found the rest of like my Vegas alliance, my primetime alliance, which we were all so hyped to see each other. We sat through a lot of debriefing,
like safety stuff.
Yeah, literally like
it was
just
kind
safety,
of boring, but
bringing us to reality, like still telling us
you're not gonna win.
Yeah.
And then we got brought to
the hangar, right?
Yeah.
The cassette.
Yeah. Which is that when we had our bus buddy thing?
Yeah, because we had to be in order, right?
Yeah, they put us in like a very specific order. Oh, they would call. Oh, that's what they did. They would call our numbers because we got assigned the numbers of the flag we chose, and they would call out specific numbers, and you would have to line up. They're making sure we lined up exactly like that. And so I got sat next to this guy where like they had us like sit together on the bus, and we had to wait around with these people for so long. And I was sitting next to this dude, and he was telling me, he was like, hey, I'm just gonna let you know, like, everything's staged. They already have the winners picked out. Like, none of it's real, so don't get your hopes up.
Yikes.
And I was so when he told me that, I was like so like devastated, because I was like, I believed him, and I was like, why am I here? I was like, everything's picked out already. Like, I'm not gonna win. And then I realized that that guy is just like a pathological liar, because he kept talking, and I was like, this dude is crazy. I was like, this dude does not know what he's saying. But it was just so entertaining. I had to keep being like, whoa, that's crazy. For like hours. It was so crazy.
Oh my God. So my bus buddy was Adam, and Adam is an ultra runner. And at the time, I didn't know, referencing Ben Kenny, shout out Ben Kenny. Ben was also really close with Adam in Vegas, and I had no idea. Because like Ben like kind of joined our group late in Vegas, and then so I was sat with Adam for hours. We got pretty close, and then in the first episode we ended up being right next to each other. But one time Ben came over to like visit my platform, and he was like, "Wait, Adam? Wait, you know Ava?" He was like, "Oh my God, you guys are like my closest alliance," and he got so hyped, and I was like, "What are the odds? Like literally, what are the odds?" Like, I feel like
that's so awesome.
It's so weird to say, but like, Ben Kenny was literally the core of like literally us. Literally so many like relationships.
Because I think we met later that day.
Yeah.
Right?
He introduced us.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, this is Ivy," because he came up to me, and I remember he was like, "Yeah, this girl Ivy, like she's really cool. Like I feel like you would get along with her." And then he introduced us. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's like just crazy connections. But yeah, we sat on those buses for hours.
Yeah.
And then we finally like go in to like get ready to see the set. We're so excited. And I'm like, when I got inside, we're like under the hangar, and all you see is the lines of just boxes.
Yeah.
And we're like,
just
what
infinite.
is this? Yeah, like you literally couldn't see the end. And like on the bottom you could see little foam squares, and we were like, so are we gonna be falling? What is this? Everyone was like trying to speculate. And then I got right up to the stairs, and they're like, all right, we're starting the shot. And everyone started to go and walk onto their platforms. And I remember like 10 seconds into the shot, maybe, I was about to get up the stairs, and all you hear is, and I don't know who it was, but someone fell off the platform. And I mean, they were like, what, like 5 feet off the ground?
Yeah.
So they ruined the shot, but then we had to reset just to get the shot again. And then we finally got out, and like the feeling of walking out onto that set and seeing seeing 1,000 platforms just like completely lined up. It's just such a crazy set.
I feel like anxious like thinking about it. Like just the first moment seeing that, because you're like, I'm like in a show. Like I'm competing. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, and you like think about how much money this costs, and like, oh, it's just so crazy. Such a surreal feeling.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Then we finally all got on our platforms. I'm pretty sure we ate lunch.
Yeah, they like brought us our food and stuff. That's when I met Ben Kenny, because I was 781 and he was 780, and so then he was like, "Yo, my friend Ava," and like all this stuff, and so that was crazy. But so we got to like meet people around us and our things, and it was just like the number orders, obviously. You've seen the show, but it was just crazy, just how many people were there.
Yeah, and someone made a reference like you see this and see like 1,000 people, and then you think of like, so this is what 1,000 followers on social media looks like in real life. You know what I'm saying? And that's how
crazy.
Many people, and you don't realize how big of a number it really is.
Yeah.
You know? Just seeing that visually,
that's so
was like
trippy.
A crazy thing to like think about.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was like the first, like, I guess kind of meal experience besides what we ate in the hotel, but I feel like the hotel food was more catered from the hotel.
Right, yeah. This was like the Beast people.
And I don't remember what the meal was, but it was something good.
Yeah.
Like,
the food was good.
Yeah. It was
like
really
so
good.
It was like more food than we needed. It was like,
yeah.
It was so good.
And they would always give like some type of dessert, I feel like a cookie or like something.
Yeah, it was so good. So then like Jimmy and all of them showed up. Then they did the first, like, was that even the first challenge, or was it
technically, yeah, he didn't even call it a challenge. It literally technically didn't count as a challenge. But the challenge or whatever was, what was it, $1 million? It
was $1 million split by everyone who clicked the button.
Yeah. So, and what was the timer? 10 minutes?
It might have been something like that, yeah. Maybe it was shorter. 5
it might have been 5.
Because then, like, at first it was only, like, what, like 10 people that were taking it?
Yeah.
And then it was, like, but I just knew, like, I think everybody knew, like, at the very end, a ton of people are going to take it because they're going to see how high the number is.
Yeah. Not a lot of people pressed it for, like, the entire time. And then very last second, a bunch of people pressed it. And, like, the last thing we saw on the screen before the timer was up was that people thought that they were getting $70,000 because the number was still so low.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the screen switched. And it ended up being 54 people that pressed it, so they all got $19,000.
Yeah,
which is still a lot of money.
You have to be there for one day.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, no.
But there was no shot I was pressing that button.
I know, same. I was like,
like, why would you do that? You made it all the way to Toronto,
right?
And I get it. Like, other people had commitments, or like,
yeah,
if you really just are here for the money, like.
Right.
Might as well take that opportunity.
No, for sure, yeah. Like, if you have commitments and you just wanted money from the whole thing, then, like, that's golden. Like, golden opportunity. Like, waste no time, but leave with
for sure
guaranteed money.
For sure, yeah.
But, like, yeah, no, I wasn't gonna click it either.
Yeah, no way.
Oh, no, that night we didn't do another one. We just went back.
It was literally just that, which was crazy. Okay, also, I wanted to speak on, like, the bathroom breaks every time in, like, this episode took so long. Like, because once one person would go, a bunch of other people would want to go, and then we would just be sitting there waiting for people to return. But
which they were, like, very good about letting people go to the bathroom. So I guess they were, like, they were ahead on that. And they had water for all of us at all times.
Oh, yeah, we had our own water bottles.
Our little water bottles.
Oh, and we were also mic'd up, like, all individually the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
But it was, like... So once you could get on your platform, your mic's, like, up here, and then it goes all the way down your pants, and then you have to plug it in at the bottom.
Yeah.
So that was... It kind of felt like you were attached to your platform.
Right.
And, like, by the end of filming, like, this episode, low-key, like, my platform space felt like my safe space.
Right, I know,
like,
I agree.
Felt like I could sleep there, like...
I stayed taking naps on that.
Yeah, for
crazy.
real.
So then we all went back to our hotels for the night, and we don't have our phones or anything at this point. Like, we're literally just going to our rooms and then waking up from, like, an alarm, I think.
Yeah, or they would either, like, call your room
or
knock on your door or something. Yeah. So the next challenge was basically a self-elimination challenge, and we worked in columns, right? So there was, I don't know how many people were around.
I feel like it was probably, like, around, like, a little bit less than 100 per row, or per column. Yeah.
So basically, the challenge was one person from your row had to self-eliminate to save the rest of your row, and the last three rows that didn't self-eliminate were all out. So we were all tweaking. I didn't know who in my row was going to do it. I knew I wasn't going to do it,
right.
So I was just, like, hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And, like,
oh my gosh.
When the timer started... Wait, wasn't the timer... I don't remember how long it was for.
It was, like, set for, like, a long time.
Yeah, I don't know. It was set for a long time. And as soon as the timer started, all of a sudden you see rows start turning
boom, boom. And it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
And so I was, like, standing next to Ben, and we, like, looked at each other, and we're like, oh my gosh. We're like, neither one of us wanted to self-eliminate. We're like, what is going to happen? And then luckily, some girl... I don't know her name. Some girl self-eliminated for our row, and we were like, yeah. We were, like, so relieved. just be locked in. But
yeah, I remember like in that moment, I was so nervous because it's like something you can't control, you know. And I looked to my right and I see a bunch of floors turn green, and I looked to my left and I saw like 2 turn green. I'm like, wait, how many more? Am I out? Like, how many more?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I look down and it's green. I'm like, oh my god!
No, literally. But it was such like a bad feeling because it was like it happened so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like it happened so quick. So like me and Ben like are freaking out, like we're safe, we're good. And then I had like in my eye line, my friend Alonzo was in my eye line, and then my friend Jason too. They were like right next to each other. And so the whole time, like the day before and like the rest of like before we filmed it for this day, we had been like signaling to each other from across the thing, and we're like, yo, we're gonna win this thing. And so right after mine turned green, I like celebrated, and I looked over and theirs were red, and I was like, oh. I was like, you're kidding. But no, seeing them their squares turn red, I was like, I didn't even like fathom the fact that they could get out, you know what I mean? Because you're like so worried about yourself in that moment. I was like, crap. I was like, you're kidding.
Yeah. And I remember it was the first row, and then the second row was safe, and then I'm pretty sure it was the third and fourth, right? So it was all like lower numbers that ended up getting eliminated. And we made up a theory, like my row, we were like, maybe the lower numbers didn't self-eliminate because those were the more cocky people.
Right, that's what we thought too.
Yeah, from like the flag challenge, because our numbers were based off the flags, and all the lower numbers were all the cocky, like quote-unquote strong men that thought they were better.
Right, but a lot of people got reassigned numbers.
That's very true.
So I'm like, I don't know how that, because that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, oh, they were the first ones to get a flag, so adds up. But like,
yeah, a lot of people did get switched around in numbers. I forgot about that.
For seemingly like no reason. So I wonder what that was about.
Oh, we forgot to mention. So that self-elim challenge was supposed to, like, there were supposed to be bribes in that too.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was supposed to bring out, it was supposed to last so much longer than it did. And Jimmy was supposed to bring out bribes because someone in the front later told me that they saw them bringing out money, like as soon as the challenge started. But by the time they were out with the money, everything was over. Yeah. So I guess we kind of ruined that challenge for them, but it was good for us because we still made it through anyway. Right. But I kind of wish the self-eliminated people did get a chance.
I know,
to get
got
money.
something.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, did I tell you about the rumor that I spread?
I don't think so.
During that episode, so we knew the self-elimination challenge was coming, and we were just so worried about like the fact of like, what if nobody self-eliminates? So I started spreading this rumor that was like that the first person was gonna get like $100,000. Like the very first person to eliminate out of all the rows was gonna get like some crazy prize. And then like literally, I don't know who I told it to, but I said to people, I was like, yeah, I think that they're gonna get like $100,000, and people like grabbed onto that because rumors flew.
Dude, they spread so quickly.
It was crazy. And the next thing I knew, people were coming up to me and telling me exactly what I just said. They're like, dude, like the first person gets like $100K, and I was like, oh, no way. Like that's crazy. But yeah, which I guess if that is what influenced anything, then that's great.
Yeah. You see, you did have a strategy.
I did have a strategy. I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, so that was like the end of that day. Same thing, went back to the hotel, and then the next day we were shuttled back to film the rest of the episode. So when we walked in, we noticed something different. We see that there's 3 boxes like attached to each of our platforms with a bunch of like randomly shaped cubes in them. And so immediately, of course, everyone's like, this is what we're going to do with them. No, this is it. Like, oh, you're going to have to figure out how to make it into a perfect square. Like so many theories on what the game was going to be. It was just like people's brains going like haywire, like trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like I should just emphasize the fact that we had so much time sitting around and waiting with the people around us that you literally became so close with everybody. Yeah. And that's something you won't understand just from watching the show. Like you're spending hours upon hours just with the people like around you. Yeah. Like bonding with them, which is like, I don't know. You just like don't understand it until you're in that atmosphere.
Right, yeah. And I was the same way. Come to find out, I was glad to bond with them. because of the last challenge that we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone around me was super nice too.
Yeah.
And I also had Liz right next to me, which she was in like the original prime time, so
Liz,
that was nice to like have her. Yeah, so then I guess we went into the block challenge, and we finally found out what it was actually going to be. So basically, we had 10 minutes to build any formation we wanted. We just had to start it on the like long rectangle block. And wait. Wait, sorry, that's so funny. And like stay. What? I can't say it. Like have it stay standing.
Yeah.
After like the 10-minute timer was up
with all of the blocks.
Yeah, right. And like no block could fall off at any point, or else you're out.
What was your building experience like?
Honestly, I was trying to like not. Everyone around me was like trying to figure out like, oh, do this because this will make it better. And honestly, I like stayed in my own bubble and just tried to build it as short as possible, so like it wouldn't be too tall and just easily fall over. And like when I was building it, like all right, seems pretty stable. And so I'm pretty sure I had like 2 minutes left, or maybe like a minute left to like move to my position that I wanted to be in. And I remember I sat, like I put my knees down first and then sat on my feet, which was a terrible idea because my feet fell asleep like 2 minutes after I started sitting there. But at that point I was like, I am not moving. Like I'm not gonna try to wobble like my platform. Some people's platforms, because you had the 2 trap doors, some people's door was like kind of popped up, so it was uneven. Yeah. And so people were like getting really nervous if you even like touch that, it's gonna like push everything down. So I literally did not move. I did not speak to anyone once my tower was up. Yeah. And I literally just stared at it. Like I just sat there and stared the whole time. Yeah. And then mine fell after like 10 minutes. But like by that time, I feel like there were a lot of people that were touching their tower after the timer went off. There were others that just like completely fell off even before the timer was up. So at first I was like, no, like I'm out. But then I was like, let's think about this logically. If 100 people get out and I see that many people in my section fell, odds are I'm okay. As time went on, I was more grateful that mine fell because they took hours to review footage and they technically didn't tell us that like the game was over. Yeah. So people were like Adam right next to me, he stood there still the entire time. I think I remember on my GoPro it was like 3 hours. Like he stood there for 3 hours. Because we were sitting there for a while, and I was taking a nap, I went to the bathroom, and he literally didn't move, which was so crazy. He was like, oh, I'm fine, because he's the ultra runner. So right. He was fine, I guess, but I couldn't imagine doing that for 3 hours.
No shot. Yeah. Oh my gosh. My experience, I was like, so we started building them and everything, and then I did the same thing. I like literally didn't move. Like once mine was up, well, like, so I got mine, and I was just so worried about like dropping it over the edge while building, and so I was like hyper aware of that. And so I built up my thing, except I left like the tiniest piece, like this tiny little triangle at the bottom of my bins. And so then there was like 10 seconds left to build, and I have to like reach my arm around my whole tower. I'm like laying on the ground trying not to shake the ground at all, and I have to grab this triangle or else I'm literally like out. And so I was like literally like freaking out, and I put it, and then I like set it down, and then there wasn't some like big countdown, like they weren't like saying anything, it was just going while you were building. And so then when I let go, I like realized, I was like, did I touch it like while the time like ran out? And I like could not figure out if I did or not. And so I was like losing my mind. And then I like was like frozen, just staring at it, like not talking, not doing anything, just looking at it. And I stood there for like 30 minutes, and then my leg was, I was like so anxious, like I just kept thinking, and it made me more and more anxious. And so my leg was shaking, and I just saw my GoPro on the podium shaking, and I was like, and literally everyone around me was like, Ivy, like you need to calm down, like you need to actually like, chill out. And I was like, I don't know how to like calm myself down right now. So then I started like talking to people to like chill myself out. And I remember I turned to Tyler, who was on like my left, and I went to say something to him, and just like literally I like just moved my shoulder like just like this, and I think the wind from like just doing that knocked my tower over, and I and I like literally fell to the ground and started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh. Which everyone around me was being so nice, and they were like, you're good, like it's been 30 minutes, like you're probably like fine. And I was like, I still like couldn't trust it. I was like, oh my gosh, but what if I'm not? Like I got out in episode 1 and I was already like losing my mind. But I mean, it turned out fine, but I was like literally I was so stressed out.
And it's like in those moments it literally feels like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like if you think you're going home, like this is the end of the world.
Yeah, it's like,
such a horrible feeling. And like also the anxiety of just not knowing and having to wait until like they review footage and are like ready to announce it. Oh, that was the worst. Waiting to like hear your fate. That was the worst, like in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then they did the big reveal.
Oh yeah.
Where they like had them all white and then they were gonna turn them red if you were out.
Right.
And I remember Ben's had fallen not long after mine. And so I was like, if I'm out, he's out, or something like that. Or no. My friend Tyler, his fell like right after mine. And so we were like looking at each other and we were like staring at like the thing, like to see when it revealed. And we're like, well, if I'm out, he's out. If he's out, I'm out. And we were like looking at it. And then they just like turned, like they stayed white instead of turning red, and we like lost our minds, and it was such a good feeling. Like, oh my gosh, such a relief.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm super excited, but then I feel bad celebrating because these people are eliminated.
Yeah, no, it's such like a weird like duality you feel. You're like so excited, but all these people you've been with for the past like days are like their dreams just got crushed.
Yeah. That just sucks. Yeah. It's like a horrible feeling. So after that challenge, we went straight into the last challenge, right? Yeah. So the last challenge of episode 1 was now instead of working with your cons, you're working with your rows.
Yeah.
And Jimmy started offering bribes, and he started at. Did he start at 10K? I don't know. He started. I mean, if he did start at 20K.
Then somebody's a fool. Someone's literally such a fool.
This man is a fool. We started the first round. It's like, all right, putting up 20K. You could tell, like, everyone expected no one to press it, you know, because Jimmy told us that he was gonna offer more and more money until like the right amount of people are out.
Yeah.
So then the right amount of people go into the city, and so he started really low. The 20K comes up on the board. Immediately, the row behind me goes red, and I'm like, no way someone just took 20K.
Yeah.
When you know he's gonna count up to more money. Like, how dumb can you be to do that? And like 20K after taxes is like nothing in reality to what he's giving out, right? So I was pissed because Liz, like literally my best girlfriend in the game at the time, was in that row. So she started crying, and then I started crying, and then we were all like looking at this kid like,
are you joking?
Like, you did not just do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his situation was. Like, I don't know who he was, but that was just a dumb decision.
Like, what are you doing?
Such a dumb decision.
Like,
and then I don't remember exactly how much money. I think it got up to 50 or 60K, but in between like the 20 and 60K mark, literally no one else like took the bribe.
Yeah.
Because they knew it was just gonna go up and up.
Yeah.
So
when you left for 20K.
Yeah.
Like
he just looked so dumb, dude.
Like, oh my gosh.
That pissed me off.
Dude.
So bad.
And I don't know what your strategy was for the bribe stuff, but I had like, one person had told me in the game earlier, they were like, hey, I'm just letting you know. Oh, it was Carlos. He was like an older man that I was like standing near on the platforms. And he was like, I'm just going to let you know, like, people are going to perceive you as like untrustworthy and that you're going to like leave for money because of the girl in Vegas. Because the girl in Vegas who left for money was like around like our age. And they're like, they're going to assume that you're the same way. So like, you need to make sure people trust you. Because he's like, if I was in a group with you, like, just not even knowing you, like, I would just assume that you're gonna screw me over for money. So he's like, you need to keep that in mind the rest of this game. And I was like, you're so right. It's I like literally when they said the bribe thing, because I was like the youngest on my row. I literally like stepped the farthest away from the iPad because you had to click it on the iPad. I stepped the farthest away and I just laid down on the ground and I was like, I'm not taking it. And then like literally I looked down my row and everyone like nodded. They're like. And so then they all did it too, and I was like, yeah. I was like, let's go. Because I was like, just having everyone like laying far away from it, you're like, okay. Like, you're going to see them stand up, and you can be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Yeah. But, man.
We had like a similar strategy, and like, at this point in time, I trust him. I swear I ended up with like the best row. I just had the nicest people. I had like Adam, Wes, and Wes, and then Larrick was in my row too.
Oh,
and like
Larrick.
we were all talking to each other like throughout the whole first episode, so we all grew pretty close, and so we all like made the decision to like sit in the very back corner and put our arms inside our shirts, so like we can't really get up or like go and touch it and stuff. And then like Wes and Wes took a nap, and then all of us were just like sitting around like watching everyone else get eliminated.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no one in my row like even remotely got close to like going to try to press it or something, so that was super nice. And I didn't really know the two people on the very ends because I literally couldn't hear them because they were like on the opposite ends of, and I was like right in the middle on the aisle, so I was like, do we trust them? But they did the same thing as us. So as soon as they like sat down and like put their arms in their shirts,
oh,
we were
that's
like, all right,
so
we're
good.
chilling.
Yeah,
like, we're going
fine.
to the city. Like,
oh my gosh, I know. My row, we just kept talking about the city. We're like, so you excited for the city? And we're like, yeah, are you? But still, like, you don't know fully what their intention is. So it's like, yeah, I'm excited for the city. Are you actually excited for the city? Because you don't know if people are like trying to make you feel safe, so you don't take the money because they want to take the money, or if they actually just don't want to take the money. And I don't know why, as a viewer, I never really thought about it, but I'm like, they get so in your head in that kind of challenge. Like, Jimmy's already like over the thing, being like, why wouldn't it be you? Like, this is like a year's salary, like this much money. And then like I think it was Nolan, or it was either Nolan or Carl that said to me, like, when they were like going from platform to platform, they were like, Ivy, why shouldn't it be you? They're like, if someone's gonna screw you over for money, why shouldn't it be you that takes the money? And I was like, in my head, I was like, why shouldn't it be me? Like, you're right. And I wanted to stay there, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get screwed over. I was like, I need to take the money. But
yeah, I remember. So like once it got to like 50-60K, it started going like a little quicker because they would do timers, I think, too.
Oh yeah.
So we had to like wait through each timer, and then I remember at one point he was like, "This one's gonna be 10 minutes instead of like 5 minutes or something," and I'm like, "Oh, here we go. We're just sitting and waiting." And like at that point, I was like, "I know no one's gonna press in my row, so I guess we'll just chill."
Just chilling.
But like towards the end, literally, the 2 rows behind me, and I'm pretty sure it was like 3 rows in front of me, were all eliminated. Like they all took the bribe, and we were the only row that was still white. And Jimmy came over, and we were all just sitting down, and he like comes and like steps on top of me. He's like, "So have you guys noticed that all the people around you are eliminated?" And we're like, "Yeah, I mean, we did notice that. Yeah. It sucks for them."
Yeah, for them.
I remember that. That was so. And I remember he stepped on my platform first, literally looked at me, and then stepped to the next platform and asked like Wes, and I was like,
bro,
okay, I guess you don't need my opinion.
Yeah.
And then we didn't. I don't think they told us when the last round was, or did they?
I think that. I mean, I was trying to mentally keep track of it because we're like guessing, I guess, like to what 500 was. But I remember the second they said like the 100,000. So my friend Bryce, who was like the only remaining person I had from Vegas, I kept like throughout the game, me and him would like look, like peek over to see each other, and like, you're like still in, you're so good, like block challenge after everything, we'd like look and we're like, okay, because I couldn't see a ton of people I knew from where I was standing. And I remember he said $100,000, and I'm like laying on the edge, and so I like go to peek over to like make sure Bryce is okay because no one from my row took it, and I just saw his thing light up red, and I was like, I could have swung. Like, I was so mad. And apparently he got like, because you get so close with the people around you, he became like best friends with this guy standing next to him. And right when the guy said like 100K, he was like, oh, sorry, Bryce. And then clicked it. Like, he just said, oh, sorry. And then clicked it.
Oh, I would have been
and I'm like,
pissed.
I would have, oh my gosh. Can you imagine that betrayal? Because I mean, people won't understand. You can never really understand the situation we were in, like getting so close to people. Like, I just can't imagine betraying someone like that in that scenario.
Yeah, and like so carrying that guilt with you after the show too.
I know.
Like, oh, that's just. Because like lied. I basically being best friends with them, and then screwed them over.
Like, yeah, and you like don't know people's life situations. Like, you don't know, and you're just like taking money from them.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, so
and destroying their dreams of continuing on in the show. So
that just
sucked.
I don't really have any understanding for those people who did that. But
also I forgot to mention, like, after the first self-elimination round, when they did the drops and like the line drops, that was so cool.
That was like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It like they did what? First they did like dominoes and then like all at once and then random, right?
Yeah. But it like in real life, it didn't look real. Like it looked like CGI in real life.
Yeah.
And you could feel like the ground like shaking from like all of the trapdoors.
That was so crazy.
Like there's no way that's gonna look real on camera.
Yeah.
But it was. It didn't even look real in real life.
Yeah, literally.
Like, it
was
crazy.
And then when Jimmy, I was so glad he showed us like what the drone shot looked like after. Like that was just so cool to see.
It did not look real.
So cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then that's what reminded me of that. They didn't drop the eliminated people until after we left to the city, right? Because they were just sitting there, eliminated, which sucked because when they said, "All right, the rest of you are going to the city," we were like, "Yeah!" And then we just look around, and we're like,
"Yeah, oh my gosh!"
All of our friends just got eliminated. And I remember after we like got off and like walked out to go to the city, I found Ben, and he was like, "I thought you were eliminated. Like, I literally thought I saw your row red. I was freaking out." And I was like, "Nope, I'm still here. I'm still here."
So awesome.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh my gosh. And then, like, we had, like, the longest night after that.
Yeah.
We had to, like, get our stuff and load these buses for them to, like, take us into the city. And then they, like, set up the shots for us, like, when we got there.
Yeah. I remember we got, like, it took so long to shuttle to the city and, like, get everyone over there.
Yeah.
I was asleep for a while on the bus, and then I wrote it down. It was like 6 a.m. when we got off the bus and was like, we were ready to run into the city and like see it for the first time. And that was also, I was so hyped during that too. I was like, no way. And then I went to like the luxury house. I was like, the table? What is this? Like, who gets to stay here?
They had like the cameraman like following us and stuff, and you're like, oh, you're like, what? Like Beastables? No way.
Beastables Cafe?
What? And it was like, oh my gosh, that was like so cool. I remember after we got there and like Jimmy and like the other guys were all in the city too. So when we were in the city, I was like hardcore lurking around Jimmy. Like he was just sitting there and I was just like, bruh. I was like, why is he like right there? And he had this like guy come up to him and he was like, blah blah, like, we gotta film the TikTok. And then right after he said that, Jimmy like turns to me and he goes, do you like the city? And I was like, I like the city. And he like looks at like the group I was with and he was like, do y'all want to be in a TikTok about the city? And I was like, yes, I want to be in a TikTok.
Yes, sir.
And so then he's like, okay, like come show me the city. And so I start like walking around with Jimmy and I'm like, this is the city. Like, we love the city. And low-key, I was being so awkward, I'm sure, because I was just still so like, Jimmy, like I was just so starstruck by him. And then this dude came up and was like, Jimmy, like, let me show you the rest of the city. And like literally stole the TikTok. So I don't know if you'll see me in it at all, but which the guy probably saved me long term because I was being so awkward, but I was like, not MrBeast asking me to be in a TikTok. I was like, that's crazy. But I was like tweaking out after that, like so insane.
Yeah. The energy when everyone went to the city, comparing from on the bus to when you got into the city, like
my gosh.
It was 100 times like more energy. Like, everyone was so hyped. And like going around and seeing everything, and like I was with Patty and Athena, and we went into like the luxury house. We were like, pool table? What?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Who goes here?
Right.
And when we like saw MrBeast at one point, we were like walking towards our door, and I was just turned to Athena. I was like, I'm just gonna thank him. I'm just gonna thank him. And we went. I was like, thank you, Jimmy. And he was like, you're welcome. And I just walked away.
That's so awesome.
So I was like, I wanted to thank him. Like, like, look what he did.
I know
look what he built.
He literally did that for all of us. Like, that's
it's so Jimmy. For us to experience.
I know.
Like, it's just so crazy to me. Okay, those stories reminded me of Back on the Platforms. Story about Mac. So it was like before anything began, and he was like walking down the aisle, and then of course we turned. Make direct eye contact. The awkward eye contact. It's always awkward eye contact. And then he came up. I was like, oh, so you remember me? He was like, of course I remember you. And then we went like this, or like started to shake hands, and then like continued the conversation. still shaking hands like for
gosh.
so long, which is so awkward. But like I don't even remember what we talked about, and then I remember he was like, "I'm rooting for you." I was like, "Me?
For me?
Me? I'm relevant. You know my name? Okay." Like I felt so cool, and then like as soon as he walked away, Liz turned, she was like, "Did you know him before the show?" And I was like, "No."
Just like that.
Why? Like, like what do you mean by that? But yeah, I felt really cool in that moment.
Wait, that's so awesome.
So yeah,
I love that. That reminds me, we're on the platforms. I got to talk to Carl and Nolan a good amount. And at one point when Carl was like on my platform or whatever, I like had told him like my name and whatever. And I was like, "Oh, like Ivy, like the supervillain, Poison Ivy." And he was like, "Wait, that's like sick." And he was like looking at me, and I got so starstruck that I like didn't say anything. I was just like, he just said, "I'm sick." I was like, okay. And then he like walked away, and I was like, I turned to Ben, and I was like, "Ben," I got so starstruck, I just didn't respond to what he just said to me. I was like, what did I just do? And then Nolan had come over a good amount. We were talking about like the trap door or whatever, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "if you fall through it, like you're gonna be falling 40 feet." And I was like, 40 feet. And I was like, I like fully just believed him because I think I was like so delusional, like just so tired. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And he was like, 40 feet. And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Bruh, like get out of here." I was like, oh my gosh. He was just clowning so hard. I could not keep up with it.
They were funny. Like they
oh my
always
gosh,
they always know what to say.
They do.
They just always
it's like they're trained for that.
Yeah, maybe they are. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that concludes episode 1.
Yeah.
Going to the city.
Top 500.
Hey, top 500. We made it to the city. The odds of actually getting top 500 were very slim. Out of 2,000 from Vegas.
I know.
So, oh yeah, and I was like, me and Ben made it our goal to make it to the city. Like the city was so hyped up. I was like, all I want to do, all we need to do is make it to the city.
Yeah.
Like we need to see what it looks like.
Right.
Because Jimmy would talked about it on like a podcast before and like talked about the private island, and we were like, this is where we need to be.
Right.
Like we have to make it.
City.
And then we did, and it was the best feeling ever.
Yeah. It was so much cooler than I could have expected it
to
be. It was so cool.
I asked Jimmy how much it cost. It cost $15 million to build. $15 million.
Wait, 50 or 15?
15.
Oh my god. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Bruh, he's got that MrBeast money.
MrBeast, Amazon,
Prime money.
But yeah, that's the end of episode 1. So stay tuned for episode 2. I don't know. We don't know when it's dropping yet. So if it drops the same time as episode 1, then we'll release the podcast for episode 2. We'll see.
Yeah.
So see you then.
See ya.
Bye.